Good afternoon, guys. First off, just it was great to be back this weekend. Great to play at home any weekend, but this weekend in particular felt even more special. Want to thank, I especially thank, and I know our kids do as well, the support, the turnout from the community, from our fans, the greatest softball fans in the country. It was much needed, and we appreciate your support. Another few things I just want to say before we get into softball is I appreciate you guys, the respect and the support that you guys have offered this team, these kids, and Coach Mike through this tough time. We're grateful for the respect and the support that you guys are offering. Much appreciated. On softball, our kids played well against a good Georgia State team. I was impressed with the way we handled business. I was impressed with the offense. Very impressed with the pitching. I thought the kids did a great job top to bottom. All three games were run rules, which is good. The offense was clicking top to bottom. Alex Stewart did a phenomenal job in games 1 and 2, and then Jordan and Christina came in for games 2 and 3, starting in a relief appearance for Jordan and a relief appearance for Christina. Now I was looking back over the stats before I got here. The Georgia State offense that was on paper was very good, and they did swing the bats well. From what I saw, it's just we did a great job of pitching around some of their kids and getting some strikeouts in some timely situations. But our kids only surrendered 3 runs on 3 walks and had 26 strikeouts on the weekend. And anytime you can do that against a team that was batting about 340 with 55, 56, 57 home runs is a great weekend. Jordan and Christina took ownership of what happened at Texas State, their struggles. They went to work this week. Was proud of the way those kids approached their workouts this past week. They challenged themselves to get better and got the ball, got the opportunity, and they really shined. And so I look forward to seeing those kids grow from the Texas State weekend, this past week of work, and look forward to seeing what they can do over the next 4 or 5 weeks. Alex was locked in. She continued her performance from Texas State like she never missed a beat. The kid was able to command her changeup, and sometimes even throw it back to back to back. And against a team like Georgia State with the numbers that they had offensively, power-wise, that's what you got to have. You have to be able to control the off speed and keep those kids off balance and keep them guessing. And that kid, as good as she looked against Texas State, she looked even better against Georgia State. So I'll open it up for any questions.
Do you still feel like Jordan, Christina, Jordan, back and forth is the best for you guys, or do you feel like Alex now officially is in the mix to get regular starts on the weekends here?
No, I think based on what she did against Texas State and Georgia State, we're both offensively good teams on paper, and watching them swing, they were very capable of scoring a lot of runs. Her performances in both those weekends, I think have thrown her into the mix, and I think she's a good offset of the other two. What she commands and what she can do makes those other two even better, and vice versa. So I think she definitely put herself in the mix.
I know I asked you this already, but I'll ask again. What happened with her? Because earlier in the season, she was getting opportunities, and she was okay. She was 6-0, but she had struggled a little bit, and now she's completely dominating everybody she's facing. Was it just circumstance, or did she just really not take the full ball?
I think for that kid in particular, her mindset evolved. Her performances on the field were good. They were above average. They weren't great. And she evolved her mindset 3-4 weeks ago and really started to take a different approach, a deeper approach into her starts, into her workouts throughout the week. And it showed against Texas State. And I felt like, even though I think the Texas State game was a run rule game too, it was a run rule, so it was only like 5 innings. I saw that kid mature in the first 3 innings of that game, and by the end, she was a completely different individual in that circle, and she carried it over to this weekend. So I think mentally, she's advanced herself mentally, physically. a lot changed, but mentally she's in a lot better spot, and I look for her to continue that. I think she's figured it out. She knows what she needs to do, and will stay on that path.
Coach, I was going to ask you, looking at some of the freshmen, like, for example, like DJ Sanders, you have a player that is hitting kind of in the middle or bottom of the lineup, kind of in that area. For kids that come in and maybe in high school they were used to hitting high in the order, lead off, or maybe 3 or 4, is there kind of an adjustment process there, figuring out the role and what you need to do when you're hitting maybe 6th or 7th compared to maybe where you used to be?
Oh, the roles certainly change. Being a leadoff or top 1, 2, or 3 in high school, and being in the 6, 7, 8 hole in college. Definitely the roles change. The duties that you have and the opportunities you have change. I think the biggest adjustment a lot of those kids make, like DJ, is more to the skill set that the pitchers have more than it is a change in the batting order. The roles are different, but I think the biggest challenge is just adjusting to the pitching, and I think she's done a good job this year. She's come on strong the last 3 weeks. She's in a good place. She's working hard. She's putting her time in, and she's going to be a special player. She still has some work to do, but that young lady is going to be a special player.
As you get to this point of the season and you're dealing with kind of on the horizon like a Baylor, an Oregon, or a regional, how big is it? I mean, obviously, when your run total goes down, how big is it to get that production from like a 6th or 7th hitter, or to try to kind of help keep things going and getting back to the top of the lineup?
Yeah, it's huge, especially when you're going to go face some of the teams we have left on the schedule, the Oregons, the Baylors, and then whatever comes in the postseason. You're going to get in those situations where they may pitch around Alexi Elkins, they may pitch around Shelly Landry, and you're kind of dependent upon 6, 7, and 8 to maybe spark the offense, to get the offense going. So what those kids are learning now, what those kids are adjusting to now, are going to be big, because those kind of pitchers definitely have the capabilities of shutting down your 1, 2, 3, and 4. You may only get 1 or 2 opportunities to get the bottom half of the lineup on base. So we need to keep pushing those kids, pushing their skill set to get there. But I feel like DJ, Aaliyah even had a good weekend. I felt in games 2 and 3. Those kids are going to have to help turn the lineup over for sure. As we get into the last 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season, those kids are going to have to continue to turn that lineup over for the Haley Haydens and Shelly Landrys and Alexi Elkins.
One more thing, with DJ Sanders getting her first career home run, is that something that's in her repertoire, or is that kind of like a bonus?
I would have to say yes to both. I think she has the ability. I've seen it in practice in some of the inter-squad scrimmages of her hitting the ball out of the ballpark. I don't think it's going to be far-fetched to see her have more home runs. Right now we're working on some things, just making her consistent and keeping her getting on base as much as possible. But it's obviously a bonus on Friday night for sure. But I think that kid is capable of doing that a lot more often. But right now we're working on her consistency, working on her ability to get on base. The kid is so athletic. Just putting the ball on the ground and a couple hops in the infield, stolen base later, it's just like a double. So that kid is special. She'll be someone to definitely keep an eye on the rest of this season and her next 3 years here.
Is Lexi even more locked in than she was last season, where she was getting all the accolades? She came in preseason with a lot of accolades, and maybe took her a little bit to get going, but now she's as locked in as possible.
Yeah, and I don't know if I could compare her to last year. The kid was pretty locked in last year too, especially at this time of the year, and they going into the postseason. So, and I'm not one to look back too much at what they were doing, but the kid is in a good place right now, focus-wise. She's locked in, and seeing the ball well. All the things that you need your best hitters to do. She's there, and she's the spark of this offense. And over the last 2 weekends has been the biggest contributor in terms of runs runs batted in and hits and things of that sort. And she's right in the middle with some other good hitters, and she's pushing them. She's pushing them to get better. And in the end, that's going to make us all a lot better off.
Yeah, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for you guys is like, I mean, any one of them could just hit a home run at any time. I guess maybe a little bit more on how much they affect one another.
Yeah, there's a good amount of what I'd like to say rivalry between those kids. They feed off each other. They're pushing each other. Their biggest concern is obviously the team wins, but they definitely push each other and drive each other, and it's great to see. I think 1 through 5, we have some of the most talented hitters you could ask for. And those kids at any moment in time, if one's struggling or maybe they're pitching around one, the other one picks up the slack, and that's what you need right now, especially going into the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season with Baylor and Oregon. Those kids they know who Lexi Elkins is. They know who Haley Hayes is. They know who Shelley. They're going to try to skip around some of those kids. But then you have to try to get through Samantha Walsh and Kelsey Benson too. And those kids are doing well. So it's a tough 1 through 5 for sure.
What do you know about Baylor, I guess, as far as what are they going to come in and do?
Baylor is a lot like they were last year offensively. Pitching-wise in the circle, they lost Whitney Canyon. 6-year starter, 7-year starter, however long she was in college. Thank goodness she's gone. But their number one, Heather Stearns, we got to see last year. Very capable young lady in the circle. Offensively, they still have the same approach. They got a couple speed kids at the top. They got 2 or 3 kids in the middle of the lineup that can hurt you with a double or a home run. And the bottom half of the lineup is more contact kids. They're all athletic. They all run the bases very well. They are exceptional on defense, and again, Stearns in the circle is a tough kid to beat. So they're going to challenge us in a lot of different areas. They're on a pretty good roll right now. They're playing good softball. So for them to come here and be into this environment, and for our kids to experience that at this time of the season is great. I can't ask for a better situation and matchup. Looking at what's left of the 4 or 5 weeks of the season, having them come here and the opportunity for us to get better and for them to challenge us is a welcome thing.
More questions?
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.